The stars stretched endlessly before the ship called Liberty. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the window, watching the lights blur past as they jumped through space. He was 32 years old, young to be leading a deep space mission, but his crew trusted him. They had traveled together for 3 years, exploring the empty regions beyond Earth's colonies. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan checked her screens. She was the second in command, a woman who rarely showed emotion. But now her eyes went wide. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, checking the numbers again and again. "Commander," she said quietly, "we have company." Jake turned from the window. "How many?" Kate's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the concern beneath it. 500 ships, Commander, all arranged in perfect formation. They're waiting for us." The bridge went silent. 500 ships was more than Earth's entire fleet. Jake had known this day might come. Humanity had wondered for decades if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. They were not alone, and whoever was out there had found them first. The communication screen flickered to life. A creature appeared, unlike anything Jake had seen. It had 4 eyes arranged in a circle around its face. Its skin was covered in small scales that changed color as it moved. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Velnoth of the Korath Collective," the creature said. "I speak for the Galactic Council. We have been watching your species for some time. We know you have discovered faster than light travel. According to the laws that govern all civilized worlds, you are now required to present yourself before the Council." Jake kept his face calm. He had trained for this moment, studied the protocols Earth's government had prepared. "Welcome, Ambassador Velnoth. We are honored to meet you. However, humanity does not recognize any laws we did not help create. We would be happy to discuss an agreement between our peoples." Something that might have been a smile crossed Velnoth's face. His mandibles clicked together in a way that made the translation computer pause before continuing. "You misunderstand your position, Commander. This is not a negotiation. The Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. 47 species live under our protection. You will be the 48th. Jake felt the eyes of his crew on him. Behind Velnoth's words was a threat, polite but clear. Submit or face consequences. It was the same choice bullies had given victims since the beginning of time. The same choice nations had given each other before Earth finally learned to work together. "Humanity will need time to consider your offer," Jake said carefully. "We are a democratic society. Such decisions must be made by all our people, not by one ship's commander." Velnoth's scales shifted to a darker color. "No species has ever needed time before, Commander. They recognize the wisdom of joining peacefully. But the Korath are patient. You have 1 cycle by your calendar, 1 month to accept what is inevitable. After that, we will come to you." The screen went dark. Around Jake, his crew began speaking at once. Some were afraid. Others were angry. A few looked ready to fight right there. Jake raised his hand for silence. "Kate, send everything we recorded to Earth. Full speed, all channels. Make sure they know we're being watched. Then plot a course home. We have work to do." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. Jake spent every moment studying the recordings of Velnoth and the Korath ships. The alien vessels were sleek and powerful, built with technology humanity was just beginning to understand. But something about them bothered Jake. They were too perfect, too uniform. Like a parade rather than a fleet ready for war. When Liberty reached Earth orbit, Jake found the planet transformed. Ships filled the space around the homeworld, more than he had ever seen gathered in one place. Factories on the Moon and Mars ran day and night, building new vessels. Earth's governments had made their decision quickly. They would not submit. Jake was summoned to Geneva, where the United Earth Council met. He walked into a room filled with leaders from every nation, every colony. They asked him questions for hours. What did he see? What did he hear in Velnoth's voice? What did his instincts tell him? Finally, the Secretary General spoke. "Commander Morrison, you were the first human to meet an alien species. Tell us honestly, can we trust them?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "No, Madam Secretary. They are not evil, but they are used to being obeyed. They have never been told no before. If we join them, we will lose the right to make our own choices. If we refuse, they will try to force us. Either way, they will not see us as equals." The room fell silent. Then the Secretary General nodded. "Then we will show them what humanity does when faced with tyranny. We stand together. We fight for our freedom. and we never ever surrender our right to choose our own path. The month passed quickly. Earth scientists worked with teams from every colony to prepare. They could not match the Korath in numbers, but humanity had one advantage. They had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. From ancient battles with swords and shields to modern conflicts fought with lasers and missiles, humans had learned to turn anything into a weapon. Dr. Lisa Chen led the science teams. She was brilliant, one of the finest minds of her generation. She studied the Korath ships looking for weaknesses. What she found was both encouraging and terrifying. The aliens had powerful shields and weapons, but they fought in predictable ways. They had not faced a real war in centuries. They had forgotten how to adapt. On the last day of the month, Jake stood on the Bridge of Liberty once more. Around him floated 30 of Earth's finest warships. It was not enough to win a straight fight against 500 alien vessels. But humans rarely fought straight fights. The Korath fleet appeared exactly on schedule, precise to the second. Velnoth's face filled the screen once more. His scales were bright red now, a color Jake had learned meant confidence. Commander Morrison, has humanity made its decision? Jake stood straight, his voice clear and strong. Yes, Ambassador. Humanity chooses to remain free. We offer you friendship and trade as equals, but we will not submit to your council's rule. We will not give up our right to govern ourselves. Velnoth's scales shifted to black. That is unfortunate, Commander. We hoped you would be wise. Now we must teach you the price of defiance. Your species will learn to obey, or it will learn to fear. The screen went dark. Around Earth, the Korath ships began to move, forming attack formations. On Liberty's bridge, Kate looked at Jake. Her hand hovered over the weapons controls. Jake took a deep breath. Send the signal to all ships. Execute defensive pattern Morrison 7. And Kate, tell the fleet, today we show the galaxy what humanity means. We are not warriors who seek glory. We are not monsters who enjoy violence. But we are absolutely willing to fight for those we love and the freedom we cherish. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin. And in that moment, Commander Jake Morrison understood something important. The Korath came to teach humanity about fear. They were about to learn they had it backwards. Fear was not something to teach. It was something humans had mastered long ago. They had learned to face it, to use it, and to overcome it. Now they would teach that lesson to the galaxy. On Zenthar Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council, 10 beings gathered in a chamber that floated among the clouds. Each represented one of the founding species, the civilizations that had created the Council 3,000 years ago. They met to discuss the human problem. High Counselor Zethrin led the meeting. He was not truly alive in the way others were. Long ago, his species had learned to transfer their minds into crystals that could last forever. He appeared as a glowing light, his voice calm and ancient. The data on humans is disturbing, Zethrin said. His light pulsed as he spoke. They are predators. Look at their biology. Forward-facing eyes for tracking prey. Sharp teeth designed for tearing meat. A body built for endurance hunting. They are natural killers. Around the chamber, the other counselors shifted uneasily. Most of them came from prey species. Their ancestors had been hunted on their homeworlds. They had survived by hiding, by running, by working together in large groups. The thought of a predator species reaching the stars filled them with ancient fear. Counselor Thera of the Morak spoke next. Her species looked like great birds covered in blue feathers, but we have seen their cultural transmissions. Humans do not act like typical predators. They form bonds with other species. They keep animals as companions, even predatory animals. They create art about protecting the weak, about sacrifice and honor. Ambassador Velnoth entered the chamber. His scales were still black from the confrontation with humanity. He bowed to the council before speaking. High Counselor, I have studied human history deeply. Yes, they are predators, but they are also survivors. They have nearly destroyed themselves at least 12 times. Wars, plagues, environmental disasters. Each time they came back stronger. How is that possible? Asked Counselor Prex, a small creature who lived in a tank of special liquid. Species that fight themselves should go extinct. That is what makes them dangerous, Velnoth replied. Humans learn from their mistakes. Every disaster teaches them something new. They remember their dead. They study their failures. They build memorials and museums to ensure they never forget. No other species does this so completely. The Council spent hours reviewing human history. They watched recordings of Earth's wars, each more terrible than the last. The First World War with its trenches and poison gas. The Second World War with its atomic bombs. The resource wars that nearly made the planet uninhabitable. And always, after each war, humans rebuilt. They helped their former enemies. They created new laws to prevent future conflicts. But it was the weapons that truly frightened the Council. Humans had turned science itself into a weapon. Nuclear bombs that could destroy cities. Biological weapons that could wipe out entire populations. Chemical weapons that caused suffering beyond imagination. And those were just the old weapons, the ones from before they reached the stars. Now humans had antimatter bombs that could crack a planet's crust. Railguns that could shoot metal faster than light itself. Missiles that thought for themselves and could not be stopped. And worst of all, they had artificial intelligence, machines that could think and fight better than any living being. "This cannot be allowed," said Councillor Marn, whose people resembled giant insects. "We banned artificial intelligence for good reason. It is too dangerous. Machines that think will eventually turn on their creators. This is known. Velnoth pulled up a recording from Earth's databases. It showed a human child playing with a mechanical dog, an artificial creation that behaved like a real animal. The child laughed as the machine fetched a ball. Humans do not fear their creations, Velnoth explained. They teach them, guide them, make them partners. They do with machines what they do with living predators. They turn dangerous things into friends. The Council found this concept hard to understand. In their experience, strength meant domination. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed. That was how nature worked. But humans seemed to operate on different rules. They competed fiercely, but also cooperated deeply. They fought wars, but also formed lasting peace. They created terrible weapons, but chose not to use them. Dr. Lisa Chen arrived on Zenthar Prime to speak before the Council. She was young, only 28, but she was Earth's leading expert on alien biology. She stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy without showing fear. "You look at humans and see predators," she began. "You are correct, but you do not understand what that means. Predators are not mindless killers. We are problem solvers. We had to be smart to survive. We had to work together to take down prey larger than ourselves. We developed language, tools, strategy. We became intelligent because we had to be." Dr. Chen showed them images from Earth, a pack of wolves working together to hunt, a pod of orcas teaching their young how to fish, a group of humans building a village, each person contributing different skills. "The pattern is the same," she explained. "Intelligence grows from cooperation. Predators who work together become stronger than predators who work alone." "But you still kill," Councillor Prex said accusingly. "Your species consumes other living things, so do you." Dr. Chen replied calmly. "You eat plants. Plants are alive. The only difference is that plants cannot run away. Every living thing survives by consuming other life. Humans simply acknowledge this truth instead of pretending otherwise." The Council members looked at each other uncomfortably. They had never thought of it that way before. They considered themselves peaceful because they did not hunt. But Dr. Chen was right. All life consumed other life. The only difference was the method, Dr. Chen continued. "You fear us because we remind you of the predators on your homeworlds, the creatures that hunted your ancestors. But we are not those animals. We learned empathy. We developed morality. We choose kindness even when we have the power to choose cruelty. That is what makes us civilized, not our diet." She showed them more images. Human doctors treating sick animals. Humans rescuing stranded whales and returning them to the ocean. Humans creating nature preserves to protect endangered species. "We do not just hunt," Dr. Chen said. "We also protect. We understand that every species has value, that every life matters, even the lives of those we once hunted." High Counselor Zethran's light flickered thoughtfully. "Your words are compelling, Dr. Chen. But words are easy. Actions reveal truth. Your species has powerful weapons but claims to value peace. How can we trust this?" Dr. Chen met his gaze directly. "You cannot trust words. You are correct. But you can trust history. Look at Earth's last 3 generations. No major wars. No nuclear weapons used. Former enemies becoming allies. Humanity learned that war costs more than it gains. We developed weapons to protect ourselves, not to conquer others. We are ready to defend our freedom, but we do not seek to take freedom from anyone else." The Council dismissed Dr. Chen and debated for hours. Some wanted to force humanity to submit. Others wanted to destroy them before they became a threat. A few, like Councillor Thera, argued for giving them a chance. In the end, High Counselor Zethran made the decision. "We will test them," he announced. "We will take one of their colonies. If they submit peacefully, we will welcome them into the Council with minimal restrictions. If they fight, we will show them the full might of 47 united species. Either way, we will learn the truth about humanity." Velnoth bowed. "Which colony should we target, High Counselor?" Zethran's light pulsed with decision. "New Horizon. It is their first extrasolar colony, lightly defended. The population is small, mostly families and farmers. They will not risk war over one small world. They will see the wisdom of submission." The Council believed they understood humanity. They had studied the data, watched the recordings, listened to Dr. Chen's explanations. They thought they knew what humans would do when faced with overwhelming force. They were about to discover how wrong they were, because the Council had made one critical mistake. They assumed that predators only cared about themselves. They did not understand that human predators protected their pack, and humanity considered every human everywhere part of their pack. New Horizon was not just a colony. It was home to 5,000 humans, 5,000 family members, 5,000 reasons to fight. New Horizon was a beautiful world. The sky was purple during the day and green at night. Strange trees with crystal leaves grew in forests that sang when the wind blew. 5,000 humans had made this planet their home, building farms and towns, raising children under alien stars. When the Council fleet arrived, the colonists were ready. Earth had sent word weeks ago that an attack might come. The people had prepared shelters underground. They had stockpiled food and water. But most importantly, they had called for help. Admiral Frank Martinez commanded the Third Fleet. He was 60 years old, a veteran of the resource wars that had nearly destroyed Earth 40 years earlier. He had lost his wife and daughter in those wars. The experience had taught him two things. First, that war was hell and should be avoided. Second, that some things were worth fighting for. Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship, the destroyer Washington. Around him floated 29 other ships, the finest vessels Earth had built. They were outnumbered nearly 3-1. The Council fleet had 80 ships approaching New Horizon. Captain Ellen Price was Martinez's second in command. She had been with him for 15 years, through dozens of missions. "Admiral," she said quietly, "we could withdraw, come back with more ships, fight on terms more favorable to us." Martinez shook his head. "There are 5,000 people down there, Ellen. Our people. If we run, the Council will take them. Use them as hostages. No, we stand here. We show the Council what happens when they threaten humans." The Council fleet commander was named Strategos Quine. He was a Korath warrior, experienced in enforcing Council law across the galaxy. He had fought pirates and rebels for 30 years. He had never lost a battle. When he saw the human fleet, he almost felt sorry for them. 30 ships against 80. It was not even a fair fight. Quine opened communication channels. "Human Commander, this is Strategos Quine of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Withdraw your forces. Allow us to occupy New Horizon peacefully. No one needs to die today." Martinez's face appeared on Quine's screen. The human looked old, tired, but his eyes were hard as stone. "Strategos Quine, this is Admiral Frank Martinez of the United Earth Forces. New Horizon is a human colony under human protection. You have no authority here. Leave now or face the consequences." Quine could not believe what he was hearing. Did this human truly think he could win? "You are brave, Admiral, but foolish. My fleet is superior in every way. I will give you one last chance. Withdraw or be destroyed." Martinez smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Strategos, you have studied our weapons, our ships, our technology, but you have not studied our history. Humans have one rule in war. We do not start fights, but we always finish them. This is your last warning. Leave or learn why predators survive." Quine closed the channel. He ordered his fleet to attack formation. 80 ships moved in perfect coordination, a maneuver practiced for centuries. They would overwhelm the humans quickly, minimize casualties, demonstrate Council superiority. It would be over in an hour. It was over in 14 minutes. The human ships did not move like the Council expected. They split into small groups, each ship moving independently but somehow coordinated. The Council fleet tried to target them, but their weapons could not lock on. The humans deployed something the Council had never seen before: electronic warfare drones that jammed sensors and confused targeting systems. Then the human weapons opened fire. Railguns launched metal slugs at speeds that bent physics. Each shot carried enough energy to punch through any shield the Council had. Missile pods released smart weapons that could think for themselves, adjusting their paths, working together to overwhelm point defenses. But the real surprise was the artificial intelligence. Each human ship had a computer mind that processed information faster than any living being. These AI systems predicted enemy movements, coordinated attacks, and managed defenses all at the same time. It was like fighting 30 opponents who could read your mind. Quine watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. Ships lost power, their engines disabled by precise strikes. Communication systems went down. Weapons stopped working. And through it all, not a single ship was destroyed. The humans were not trying to kill them. They were trying to capture them. It was more humiliating than any defeat. Quine's flagship drifted helpless in space, its power cores shut down by a computer virus that had somehow penetrated every defense. Around him, 80 Council ships floated dead in space, and the human fleet circled them like sharks around wounded prey. Martinez's face appeared on what was left of Quine's communication system. "Strategos, I am sending medical teams to help with your wounded. My ships will provide life support to any vessel that needs it. Once your people are safe, we will discuss the terms of your departure." Quine found his voice. Why help us? We came to conquer you." Martinez looked sad. "Because you are not our enemy, Strategos. You are soldiers following orders. The Council is our enemy, but only because they refuse to treat us as equals. I do not kill soldiers for doing their duty. I defeat them, show them mercy, and send them home with a message." "What message?" Quine asked. "That humanity does not want war. We want peace. But we will not buy peace with our freedom. Tell your Council that we are willing to talk, to negotiate, to find a way to live together. But if they insist on conquest, we will resist. And as you have seen today, we are very good at resistance." Over the next 3 days, human medical teams moved through the disabled Council fleet. They treated the wounded, provided food and water, repaired life support systems. They acted like rescuers, not conquerors. Many Council soldiers had never met a human before. They found the predators to be kind, professional, even friendly. A young Thyssen engineer named Cree worked alongside human technicians to fix her ship's power systems. She was terrified at first. Humans were predators. They might eat her. But the humans just smiled and showed her how to bypass damaged circuits. They shared their food rations with her. They asked about her family back home. One human, a mechanic named Peter Grant, noticed Cree looking at a picture he kept on his tool belt. "That is my daughter," he explained. "She is about your age, studying to be an engineer just like you. I fight today so she can live in a free world tomorrow." Cree realized something important in that moment. Humans were not monsters. They were parents, children, friends. They had families they loved and dreams they protected. They were people, just like her. The only difference was that they refused to be conquered. When the Council fleet finally departed, they carried more than just a military defeat. They carried the knowledge that humans were not what the Council expected. Yes, they were dangerous. Yes, they were powerful. But they were also merciful, compassionate, and determined to live free. Strategos, Quine reported to High Counselor Zethrin. The ancient being listened to everything, his light flickering with concern. "So the humans defeated you without killing anyone. They showed mercy to an enemy who came to enslave their people. This is troubling." "Troubling, High Counselor?" Quine asked. "I would say it is encouraging. They want peace." Zethrin's light pulsed sharply. "No, Strategos. It is troubling because it means they are stronger than we thought. They could have destroyed your fleet and chose not to. They have the power to be cruel and chose kindness. That makes them more dangerous than any species we have ever encountered. It means they operate on principles we do not understand. It means we cannot predict them. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council was afraid. Not because humanity was violent, but because humanity was unpredictable. They had all the tools of conquest but chose cooperation. They had all the weapons of war but chose mercy. The Council did not know how to deal with a species that refused to follow the rules. High Counselor Zethrin made a decision. "We will send an ambassador to negotiate with the humans, someone who can understand them, reason with them, find common ground. We must either make peace with humanity or prepare for a war unlike any we have fought before." Ambassador Sarah Blake walked through the floating gardens of Zenthar Prime. She had been chosen by Earth to represent humanity before the Council. At 45 years old, she had lived through the last years of the resource wars. She had served as a combat medic, treating soldiers on both sides of the conflict. Later, she became a diplomat, helping former enemies learn to trust each other. Now she walked toward the council chamber, knowing that the future of humanity rested on what happened in the next few hours. Behind her walked 2 human guards, but she had insisted on minimal security. She wanted the council to see that humans came in peace. The chamber was enormous, a floating platform held in place by technology Sarah did not understand. Around the edges stood representatives from 47 species. In the center, raised above all others, sat High Counselor Zethran. His crystal body glowed with light that seemed to come from within. "Ambassador Blake," Zethran's voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand before the council that has governed this galaxy for 3 millennia. Your species has committed an act of war against us. You attacked our fleet. You humiliated our soldiers. You defied our authority. Explain why we should not respond with the full force of 47 united worlds." Sarah stood tall, her voice clear and steady. "High Counselor, with respect, we did not attack your fleet. Your fleet attacked us. We defended our people, and we showed mercy when we could have shown destruction. If that is a crime in your eyes, then your laws are unjust." A wave of shocked whispers ran through the assembled species. No one spoke to the council this way. Counselor Marn, the insect-like being, clicked his mandibles angrily. "You dare speak of justice? You are predators. Killers by nature. You keep dangerous animals as pets. You eat the flesh of other living creatures. You wage war on your own kind. What do you know of civilization?" Sarah turned to face Marn directly. "You are right. We are predators. Our ancestors hunted to survive. But we learned something that prey species never had to learn. We learned empathy. When you hunt, you must understand your prey. You must know how they think, how they feel, what frightens them. That understanding became the foundation of our civilization." She activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing Earth's history. Humans helping injured animals, doctors treating patients regardless of their ability to pay, rescue workers digging through rubble to save strangers, soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety. "Yes, we wage war," Sarah continued. "And yes, we have done terrible things. But we also do this. We save, we heal, we protect. Not because we expect reward, but because we understand suffering, because we choose to be better than our nature demands." Counselor Thyra, the bird-like Morak, spoke more gently. "But Ambassador, you say you choose. What happens when you choose violence? Your weapons are terrible beyond anything we have seen. You have bombs that can destroy planets, diseases that can wipe out entire species, machines that think and kill. How can we trust a species with such power?" Sarah's expression grew sad. "Counselor Thyra, you are right to fear our weapons. We fear them too. That is why we have not used nuclear weapons in 3 generations. Why we have banned biological weapons entirely. Why we created strict laws about artificial intelligence. We made these choices not because anyone forced us, but because we remembered what happened when we did not have such laws." She showed them images of Earth's memorials. Walls carved with millions of names, statues of soldiers weeping, museums filled with the artifacts of war. "Every human colony has places like these," Sarah explained. "We remember our dead. We honor their sacrifice by trying to ensure no one else has to die the way they did. Fear is not weakness. Fear is wisdom." High Counselor Zethran's light pulsed rapidly. "You speak of wisdom, but you defy us. The Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years. Join us and you will share in that peace. Refuse and you stand alone against an entire galaxy." Sarah took a deep breath. "High Counselor, you say you maintain peace, but it is peace through submission. Every species in your council gave up their freedom to gain your protection. They kneel before you and call it civilization. That is not peace. That is surrender." She walked closer to the center of the chamber, her voice growing stronger. "Humanity has a different vision. We believe in peace through partnership. We believe that free people working together are stronger than slaves obeying orders. We believe that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. We want to join you, but only as equals." Counselor Prex, the small being in the liquid tank, spoke up nervously. "But you are predators. How can prey and predator be equal? The strong always dominate the weak." "This is nature," Sarah smiled gently. "Counselor Prex, may I show you something personal?" She pulled up an image on her datapad, a gray cat sleeping in a patch of sunlight. "This is Luna, my companion. She is a predator. descended from hunters who could kill creatures many times her size. She has claws that can cut deep, teeth designed for tearing meat, reflexes faster than mine. By every measure, she is dangerous. The council members leaned closer, fascinated and disturbed. But she lives in my home, Sarah continued. She sleeps on my bed. She eats food I give her. Sometimes she brings me gifts, mice she has caught. She does not eat them. She brings them to me because she considers me part of her family. I am her pride, her pack. Sarah looked around the chamber. This is what predators understand that prey species do not. Strength is not about domination. It is about choice. Luna chooses to live with me. I choose to care for her. We are partners, not master and servant. That is the relationship humanity offers you. Junior Counselor Fentar, a young Thyson who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke. Ambassador, I have a question. Your species has fought wars among yourselves. Brother against brother, nation against nation. How did you stop? What changed? Sarah turned to him, appreciating the question. We learned that we had more in common than we had differences. We realized that the problems we faced, climate change, disease, resource scarcity, could only be solved if we worked together. We stopped seeing each other as enemies and started seeing each other as family. It was not easy. It took generations. But we did it, and now, Fentar asked, now you want to extend that family to include us? Yes, Sarah said simply. We look at you and see fellow travelers in this universe. Different bodies, different cultures, but the same hopes and fears. You want safety for your children. So do we. You want to explore and learn. So do we. You want to leave the universe better than you found it. So do we. These things unite us more than biology can divide us. She showed them one final image. A human child and an alien child, drawn from imagination, holding hands under a sky filled with stars from two different worlds. This is what humanity dreams of, she said. Not conquest, not domination, but friendship, partnership, a galaxy where our children can grow up together, learning from each other, protecting each other. High Counselor Zethrin was silent for a long time. Finally, his light pulsed softly. You ask us to change 3,000 years of tradition, to accept predators as equals, to share power with a species we just met. This is not a small thing, you ask. Sarah nodded. I know, but consider this. We could have destroyed Strategos Quine's fleet. We could have taken your soldiers hostage. We could have used our weapons to force you to negotiate. We did none of those things. We chose mercy. We chose kindness. We chose to show you who we truly are. Now the choice is yours. Will you respond with fear or with courage? The council debated for hours after Sarah left. Some were afraid. Others were angry. But a few, like Fentar and Thera, saw an opportunity. Humanity was strong, yes, but they were also offering something the council had never had. A true partnership. Not subjects, but allies. Finally, High Counselor Zethrin announced his decision. We will negotiate with humanity, not as conquerors dictating terms, but as equals seeking common ground. This is unprecedented. It is terrifying. But perhaps it is also necessary. Perhaps the council has grown comfortable. Perhaps we need predators to remind us that strength comes in many forms. Ambassador Blake received the news with quiet satisfaction. She knew this was just the beginning. Building trust between humans and the council would take time, but they had taken the first step. They had chosen dialogue over destruction. It was a start. The negotiations took 6 months. Ambassador Sarah Blake met with council representatives almost every day. They argued about laws, about military forces, about trade and technology. Every issue seemed impossible until someone found a compromise. Slowly, page by page, they built a treaty. The Treaty of Zenthar, they called it. It stated that humanity would join the Galactic Council as full partners, not subjects. Humans would have equal voting rights. They could maintain their own military. They would contribute their technology and expertise. In exchange, they would follow council law in matters affecting all species and work to maintain galactic peace. Not everyone was happy. On Earth, some people protested. They did not want any alien government having any say over human affairs. On Council worlds, some species threatened to leave rather than accept predators as equals. There were demonstrations, angry speeches, dire predictions of disaster, but most people on both sides saw hope. They saw a chance to learn from each other, to explore together, to face the unknown as partners rather than enemies. The first joint mission was a disaster, at least at first. A human research team and a Thyssen science crew were sent to explore an ancient ruin on a dead world. The Thyssen were nervous around humans. The humans tried too hard to be friendly, which only made the Thyssen more uncomfortable. Then the ruins collapsed. Half the team was trapped underground, humans and Thyssen together. They had to work together to survive. The humans used their strength to lift rubble. The Thyssen used their small size to crawl through tight spaces. They shared oxygen. They shared food. They shared stories to keep their spirits up while waiting for rescue. When the rescue team finally reached them 3 days later, they found humans and Thyssen sitting together, sharing a meal. The Thyssen scientist, a young woman named Tella, was teaching a human engineer named Dan Cooper about Thyssen poetry. Dan was showing Tella pictures of his family back on Earth. Later, Tella would say that the experience changed her. She had been afraid of humans before, but underground, facing death together, she learned that humans were not monsters. They were just people, trying their best in a difficult universe. Stories like this spread across the galaxy. Slowly, prejudices began to fade. Human doctors trained alien medical students. Alien engineers taught humans about technologies Earth had never imagined. Children on Earth learned alien languages. Young aliens studied human history and philosophy. But the real test came from outside the Council's borders. Beyond the edge of known space, in the dark regions where few ships traveled, something had been watching. The Kreth had been waiting for the right moment to return. 2,000 years ago, the Kreth had nearly conquered the galaxy. They were predators like humans, but they had never learned mercy. They believed that might made right, that the strong should rule and the weak should serve or die. The Council had barely defeated them, and only by uniting every species in a desperate war. The Kreth survivors had fled to the dark space beyond the rim. There they had rebuilt, grown stronger, and nursed their hatred. Now they returned with an armada of 10,000 ships, intent on finishing what they had started millennia ago. The first warning came from a remote monitoring station on the edge of Council space. Sensors detected massive fleet movements, ships unlike any in the Council database. Then the station went silent. A rescue team found it destroyed, every living thing dead. High Counselor Zethrin called an emergency session. Representatives from every species gathered, fear written on their faces. The Kreth had returned, and they had done so with overwhelming force. The Council's military had grown soft during centuries of peace. They were not ready for a real war. Ambassador Blake stood and spoke. "We will fight beside you, every human ship, every human soldier. We stand with the Council." Admiral Frank Martinez was given command of the Combined Defense Fleet. It was humanity's suggestion to unite all forces under one command, and Martinez was the obvious choice. He had proven his ability at New Horizon. More importantly, he understood both human and alien ways of fighting. The fleet that gathered to face the Kreth was the largest in galactic history, 5,000 ships from dozens of species. Human destroyers flew alongside Korath cruisers. Thyssen science vessels provided tactical analysis. Morak fighters served as scouts. Every species contributed what they could. Martinez stood on the bridge of the Unity, a massive battleship built jointly by humans and the Korath. Around him worked officers from a dozen species. His second in command was Captain Kree, the same Thyssen engineer who had once been terrified of humans. Now she served as his most trusted advisor. The Kreth arrived at the border system of New Dawn. They sent no message, no warning. They simply attacked. Their ships were brutal and efficient. They targeted civilian populations first, trying to create panic. It was a strategy designed to break the will of prey species, but the Council was no longer just prey species. They had humans now, and humans understood predators. Martinez ordered the evacuation of New Dawn civilians while the fleet engaged the Kreth. The battle was fierce. The Kreth fought with savage intensity, but the Combined Defense Fleet fought with something stronger. They fought with purpose. They fought to protect each other. A human destroyer named Freedom took heavy damage protecting a Thyssen hospital ship. When the Freedom's captain, a woman named Helen Cross, was ordered to retreat, she refused. "Not while there are civilians in danger," she said. The Thyssen would not forget that sacrifice. A Korath battlecruiser rammed a Kreth dreadnought to save a group of human fighters that were trapped. The Korath commander, an old warrior named Thex, died in the explosion. His last words were transmitted to the fleet. For the Alliance, for all of us. The battle for New Dawn lasted 3 days. Both sides took heavy losses. But in the end, the Kreeth retreated. They had expected to face the Old Council, species that would break under pressure. Instead, they faced something new. An alliance that fought together, protected each other, refused to surrender. The war continued for 3 weeks. The Kreeth pushed deeper into Council space. The combined defense fleet met them at every system, fighting desperately. Worlds burned. Ships were destroyed by the hundreds. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Finally, Martinez led a daring strike at the Kreeth command ship. Using tactics learned from human history, combined with alien technology, the combined fleet punched through the Kreeth lines. The Unity, supported by ships from every species, fought its way to the heart of the enemy armada. The Kreeth war leader was a massive creature named Drakthor. He had led the first Kreeth invasion 2,000 years ago and had survived in stasis, waiting for this moment. When Martinez forced him to surrender, Drakthor expected to be executed. That was the Kreeth way. The defeated died. Instead, Martinez offered him a choice: join the Alliance as partners or leave in peace and never return. Drakthor could not believe what he was hearing. "You would let us live? After we killed so many of your people?" Martinez looked tired. Years of war showed on his face. "Yes, because killing you would make us feel better, but it would not bring back the dead. And because you are a beaten enemy, not an ongoing threat. We defeat our enemies. We do not destroy them. That is the difference between strength and cruelty." Drakthor studied the human for a long moment. "You are predators," he said slowly. "I thought I understood what that meant. But you are different from us. Why?" "Because we learned something you never did," Martinez replied. "The strongest predator is not the one who kills the most. It is the one who knows when not to kill. We could destroy you, but we choose mercy, not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to choose." The Kreeth left Council space, but 3 years later they returned. Not with warships, but with a request. They wanted to join the Alliance. They wanted to learn what Martinez had tried to teach them. They wanted to become more than conquerors. The Alliance accepted them, though with conditions. The Kreeth would have to prove themselves. They would have to learn to cooperate, to value life, to control their violent instincts. It would take generations. But the Alliance was patient. They had learned patience from watching humans transform from warlike nations into a unified species. Years after the war, Martinez retired. He returned to Earth, to a small house in the mountains. He was old now, his body worn from decades of service. But he was content. He had helped build something that would outlast him. An alliance of species working together, protecting each other, learning from each other. One evening he received a visitor. Captain Kree, now an admiral herself, came to see him. They sat on his porch, watching the sun set over the mountains. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for teaching us that predators and prey can be friends, that strength and kindness are not opposites." Martinez smiled. "You taught us something too. That fear is not weakness. That those who have been prey understand survival in ways predators never can. We are stronger together, Kree, all of us." 50 years after first contact, Ambassador Sarah Blake stood before the Galactic Assembly. She was 95 years old now, her hair white, her face lined with age. But her eyes were still sharp, her voice still strong. The Assembly had elected her as its leader, the first human to hold such a position. The Assembly chamber had changed since her first visit to Zenthar Prime. It was larger now, with platforms for 73 species instead of 47. The Kreeth had their place, as did 25 other species that had joined in recent decades. The Alliance was growing, becoming something the Old Council could never have imagined. Sarah looked out at the gathered representatives. Humans stood beside Korath, who stood beside Thyssen, who stood beside Kreeth. Former enemies, now allies. She could see young beings, children of species that had once feared each other, working together as assistants and aides. They had grown up in a different galaxy than their parents knew. "My friends," Sarah began, and the chamber fell silent. 50 years ago, humanity met the Galactic Council. We were afraid. You were afraid. Neither of us knew what to expect from the other. We could have destroyed each other. Instead, we chose to learn from each other." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The Old Council believed that peace came from strength and obedience, that the strong should rule and the weak should follow. They maintained order for 3,000 years with this belief, but it was a fragile peace built on fear and submission. Today we have a different peace. It is built on respect and partnership. It is built on the understanding that every species has value, that every voice deserves to be heard. This peace is stronger because it is chosen, not forced. High Counselor Zethrin, now retired but present as an honored guest, asked permission to speak. Sarah nodded and the ancient being's light pulsed with emotion. Ambassador Blake speaks truth. I was High Counselor when humans arrived. I was certain they would be a threat. I was wrong. Zethrin's light dimmed slightly, a sign of sadness among his people. The old council feared change. We believed that our way was the only way. Humanity taught us that there are many paths to civilization. They taught us that strength can be gentle, that predators can be kind, that those who have known war can be the greatest champions of peace. A young Kreth named Korvan stood to speak. He was only 30 years old, part of the first generation of Kreth born into the Alliance. My people once believed that might made right. We conquered because we could. We killed because we were strong. Then we met humans and they defeated us without destroying us. They showed us mercy when we deserved none. Korvan's voice grew stronger. That mercy changed us. It taught us that true strength is not about domination. It is about choice. The choice to be kind when you have the power to be cruel. The choice to protect when you have the ability to destroy. Humans showed us this path and we are grateful. Stories followed one after another. A Thyssen scientist spoke about working with human researchers to cure a disease that affected both their species. A Morak pilot described flying in a mixed squadron. How humans and Morak had learned to coordinate their different flying styles into something more effective than either could achieve alone. Korath teacher told about visiting Earth and seeing human children learning alien languages in school. She had watched a human child, maybe 8 years old, speaking fluent Korath. The child had told her that she wanted to be a diplomat when she grew up, to help different species understand each other. It was this child, more than anything, that convinced the teacher that the Alliance had a future. Sarah listened to each story with a smile. This was what she had hoped for 50 years ago, when she first walked into the council chamber. Not just an end to war, but the beginning of true friendship between species. Children growing up seeing aliens not as threats, but as teachers, friends, partners. But she also knew that challenges remained. New species were discovered regularly, and not all of them wanted to join peacefully. There were criminal organizations that operated across species lines, pirates, smugglers, those who profited from division and conflict. The Alliance had to deal with these threats while remaining true to its values. There were also internal struggles. Some humans believed that Earth should have more power because of their military strength. Some alien species resented human influence. There were debates about resource distribution, about military spending, about expansion into unexplored regions. Democracy was messy, complicated, frustrating. But it was worth it. Sarah addressed these concerns in her speech. She reminded the assembly that the Alliance was built on principles, not power. That every species, large or small, strong or weak, had equal voice and equal value. That disagreement was healthy, as long as it led to dialogue rather than division. She spoke about the future. About plans to explore beyond known space to seek out new civilizations. About research initiatives studying the mysteries of the universe. About cultural exchange programs bringing beings from different worlds together. About the dream of a galaxy where every species could thrive. But most importantly, Sarah spoke about what humanity had learned from joining the Alliance. We came to you believing we had much to teach, and we did. But you taught us just as much. You taught us that there are ways of thinking we never imagined, technologies we never dreamed of, perspectives on life and existence that challenged everything we thought we knew. She gestured to the diverse beings around her. Look at us, predators and prey working together, species that evolved on opposite sides of the galaxy, finding common ground. Beings of flesh and beings of energy understanding each other. This is not just an alliance. It is a family. A family we chose, a family we build together every day. Sarah concluded with words that would be remembered for generations. When humanity first met the Galactic Council, you believed you knew what to expect. You had seen predators before. You thought you understood fear. But you learned something important. Fear is not an end. It is a beginning. It is the first step toward courage. You were right to fear us. Not because we are dangerous, though we can be. Not because we are predators, though we are. You should have feared us because we represented change, and all stable systems fear change. But change is not destruction. Change is growth. And today, Looking at what we have built together, I believe we can all agree that a little fear, tempered with courage and faith, has made us all stronger. The assembly rose in applause, not just from humans but from every species present. They had learned to work together, to trust each other, to build something greater than any of them could have achieved alone. After the session ended, Sarah walked through the gardens of Zenthar Prime one last time. She was tired. Her body was failing. She knew she did not have much time left, but she was content. She had lived to see her dream become reality. A young human aide, a man named Alex Hudson, walked beside her. He would be her successor, carrying on her work after she was gone. "Ambassador," he asked, "do you think this will last? The alliance, I mean. Or will we eventually fall back into old patterns, old prejudices?" Sarah smiled. "Nothing lasts forever, Alex. Civilizations rise and fall. Alliances form and break. But what we have built here, the idea that different species can work together as equals, that will endure. Even if this particular alliance ends, the memory of it will inspire others. We have proven it is possible. That is what matters." She paused by a fountain, watching the water dance in patterns created by technology from 6 different species. The work we have done, the friendships we have built, the children who have grown up seeing aliens as normal, as friends, they are our legacy. Not treaties or laws or government structures. People. Beings who have learned to see past their differences to find their common hopes. Ambassador Sarah Blake passed away 3 months later, surrounded by friends from a dozen species. Her funeral was attended by representatives from every world in the Alliance. Humans, Korath, Thyson, Morak, Kreeth, and dozens of others stood together to honor her memory. Commander Jake Morrison, now an old man himself, gave the eulogy. He spoke of meeting alien ships for the first time, of standing before Ambassador Velnoth with fear in his heart. He spoke of Sarah's courage in walking into the council chamber, of her wisdom in finding common ground, of her vision of what the galaxy could become. But mostly, he spoke of what Sarah had taught everyone who knew her. That strength is not about domination, but about choosing kindness. That courage is not the absence of fear, but acting with compassion despite it. That the greatest achievement is not to conquer others, but to build something together that none could build alone. The galaxy had changed forever when humanity arrived. Aliens had believed they knew fear, understood predators, had seen everything the universe could offer. They were wrong. Humanity showed them that there were always new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new paths forward. Most importantly, humanity taught the galaxy that the measure of civilization is not in its weapons or its technology or its conquests. It is in how it treats those who are different, how it responds to fear with understanding, how it builds bridges instead of walls, how it chooses cooperation over domination, dialogue over destruction, hope over hatred. Aliens believed they knew fear until humans arrived. What they learned was that fear is just the beginning.